There's a look, silent, yet it quietly stills the heart part eye. The power of a moment unspoken. There are no trumpets, no grand declarations, no dramatic gestures or sweeping movements. There's just a look, silent, fleeting, almost shy. And yet it stills the heart. Not every love begins with words. Some begin with silence. In a crowded room, in the echo of laughter, in the blur of moving lives. Two eyes meet tanned in that small, quiet collision. Something unexplainable stirs. A breath caught, a heartbeat missed, a soul nudged awake. We often think of connection as a product of conversation, of time spent, stories shared, secrets revealed. But there is a different kind of recognition. One that precedes words. One that whispers in glances and lingers in the spaces between sound. It's not loud, but it's impossible to ignore. There is a look that doesn't ask for attention, yet commands it. That doesn't shout, "I'm here," yet somehow you can't look away. It's not lust. It's not admiration. It's not even something as easily labeled as affection. It is, instead, a knowing. A sudden, deep awareness that someone has arrived in your orbit and their presence has rearranged the atmosphere. And the strangest part? They may not even realize it because sometimes they just look at you. Not with any specific intention, not trying to make a statement, just looking. But in their eyes is a depth that mirrors something you've long buried. A softness that cracks your careful armor. A stillness that settles the storm inside you. And in that moment, you're not sure if they're a beginning or an echo. But you are certain of one thing. You will never forget that look. Part 2. The language of Aizda. Human face is home to countless expressions, yet none carry the depth of meaning that the eyes do. A smile can lie. Words can be rehearsed. Even touch can be misguided. But eyes, I speak from the soul. They tell stories without punctuation. They carry sadness even through joy. They reveal longing, sometimes masked by laughter. They betray affection even when the lips stay sealed. They are, perhaps, the only part of us that can't be trained to deceive fully. That's why when that look happens, silent and stilled, bypasses every wall we've built. It walks through locked doors. It reaches places even we haven't visited in years. It's familiar, not because we know the person well, but because something in them recognizes something in us. And it's terrifying to be seen, not as a role, or a title, or a collection of achievements and flaws, but as you, raw, unpolished, unhidden. That look doesn't ask you to explain yourself. It doesn't request a performance. It doesn't measure or compare. It simply sees. And being seen like that can unravel a person in the most beautiful, terrifying way. You begin to wonder, is it possible they see something in me that I've long forgotten? Something worth looking at, worth pausing for, worth gently holding with their gaze. Because here's the truth, we are all walking stories. But not everyone reads us gently. When someone looks at you like you are a poem, fragile, layered, worth savoring, it awakens something ancient within you. A yearning not just to be loved, but to be understood, to be seen as you are. And if they hold your gaze a second too long, their eyes soften just slightly, they look at you as though you are both mystery and home. Then, perhaps, they've heard your silent song. Part 3. A look that echoes long after it's gone. The moments that change us are often the quietest. Glance across a train platform. A passing look in a bookstore. A second of eye contact before one of you disappears into a sea of strangers. These aren't love stories in the traditional sense. They're soul moments, unexpected, unexplained, unforgettable. What makes them powerful isn't duration, but depth. And in that depth, sometimes we find more truth than years of conversation could ever uncover. Maybe they were a stranger. Maybe they never spoke to you. Maybe your paths only crossed for the briefest flicker of time, but their look stayed. It's not obsession. It's not fantasy. Something gentler, yet more profound. Like a haunting melody that plays in the background of your days. You forget the details of their face, but you remember the feeling. The way your chest felt both light and heavy. The way the world quieted. The way something in you whispered. That meant something. Perhaps it did. Not every connection is meant to be a chapter. Some are just lines of poetry etched across the heart. Incomplete, yet whole. Momentary, yet timeless. Because the look wasn't about them. It was about you, about what awoke within you. About what was unlocked, stirred, softened. They were the mirror, the trigger, the reminder. A look can plant a seed that takes root long after the moment has passed. Part 4. When you're the one who looks, but what if you were the one who looked? If your eyes carried a truth you couldn't speak. What if you were the silent force that stilled someone else's heart? We often talk about how others affect us, but seldom do we recognize the quiet impact we have on those we see deeply. Perhaps you glanced at someone when they needed it most. Perhaps your eyes said, "I see you," when they felt invisible. Perhaps you offered a moment of stillness in their chaos. There's great power in quiet affection. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't beg for reciprocation. It doesn't need a story to justify its existence. It simply flows from soul. To soul, your look may never be mentioned. It may never be returned. But if it carried truth, if it came from a place of depth and softness, it landed somewhere. It mattered. You don't always need to be part of someone's life to leave an imprint on it. Sometimes, the greatest gifts we give are the ones we never know we've given. Part 5. The souls that speak through eyes. Some people are born with eyes that speak. They don't just look. They listen. Their gaze doesn't skim the surface. It dives quietly, respectfully, but deeply. They carry a presence that makes others exhale. A kindness that asks nothing in return. A clarity that cuts through noise. If you've ever met someone like that, you'll never forget them. They don't offer explanations. They don't preach. They don't analyze. They simply are. And in being so still, they allow others to hear themselves again. It's not about appearance. It's about essence. Their eyes don't sparkle because of charm. They shine because of truth. They hold sorrow and joy in equal measure. They've known pain, and because of that, they see others with compassion instead of judgment. When someone with eyes like that looks at you, you feel safe, not because they promise you safety, but because they invite you to be you, without mask, without performance, without fear, and in a world full of noise. That kind of presence is a rare, sacred gift. Part 6. Letting the look become light. What do we do with these looks that stir us? We hold them, not cling to them, but honor them. We let them become part of our inner tapestry. We don't try to recreate them, chase them, or turn them into something they're not. Instead, we let them remind us of what's real, of the softness that still exists in this world, of the silent ways love can show up, of the beauty of being seen and seeing. Sometimes, that look doesn't need to become anything more. It's not a call to action, but a call to remembrance, to remind you of your depth, your capacity, your longing, your all-of-ness. And sometimes, it is the beginning, a door opening, a soul recognizing a fellow traveler. Either way, it matters, because in a world obsessed with volume, noise, spectacular, look that quietly stills the heart is revolutionary. Conclusion. A quiet invitation. If you've ever been moved by a glance, if your heart has ever paused at the weight of someone's eyes, if you've ever felt deeply seen without a single word spoken, then this message is for you. You are not alone. You are not foolish for remembering a look. You are not silly for believing that. Something so small could mean something so profound. You are alive, you are open, you are feeling, and that is not weakness. That is your superpower. So, to the silent moments, the passing glances, the eyes that changed everything, thank you. And to you, dear listener, dear dreamer, dear soul who feels deeply, keep looking softly, keep seeing gently. Keep letting your gaze remind others that they matter, because sometimes all it takes is a look. Silent, still, and yet everything begins to shift. If this message touched something within you, consider joining us at Awaken Mindset, where we share soul-deep reflections for those who see the world a little differently. Subscribe, like, or simply come. Back when you need a little stillness in the storm, your presence here means more than words can say. Hashtag Awaken Mindset, hashtag Silent Connections, hashtag Eyes That Speak, hashtag Soul to Soul, hashtag Deep Feelings, hashtag Emotional Awareness, hashtag Soft Power, hashtag Seen and Safe, hashtag Gentle Strength, hashtag Heart Awakening.